And we are coming on the air right now because there has been an attack on the British Parliament that is being treated as an act of terror. That is the scene in London. That is the map of London right now. The attack started around 9:40 a.m. Eastern time on that Westminster Bridge. You see that right there. According to eyewitnesses, someone driving a car across the bridge plowed into bystanders, eventually crashed into the gates by the British Parliament. And then somebody was able to make it through the gates into the grounds of the British Parliament. And apparently a man with a knife who was then attacked security guards inside the Parliament, was shot down. At least one person is dead right now. Reports that the assailant is down, having been killed by security guards this morning. The entire Parliament, the entire British Parliament, is on lockdown right now. That is the scene on the Westminster Bridge heading into the Parliament where the attack began. And moments ago, the leader of the House of Commons, in the British Parliament, David Lidington, spoke to the members who are on lockdown right now.
It seems that a police officer has been stabbed, that the alleged assailant was shot by armed police. An ambulance is currently attending the scene to remove the casualties. There are also reports of further violent incidents in the vicinity of the Palace of Westminster, but I hope colleagues on all sides will appreciate that it would be wrong of me here to go into further details until we have confirmation from the police and from the House security authorities about what is going on. I shall endeavour to do the very best I can, both at the dispatch box and by communicating with my opposite numbers in other political parties, to ensure that members are kept aware of what is happening. But at the moment, the very clear advice from the police and the Director of Security in the House is that we should remain under suspension and that the Chamber should remain in lockdown until we receive advice that it is safe to go back to normal procedures.
Our correspondent Alex Marquardt is on the scene in London right now. Alex, you're across the bridge there from the Westminster Castle, the Parliament. We just heard that the Parliament remains on lockdown, so police are not confident yet that this entire incident is contained.
Right, George. They haven't actually defined this as an act of terror yet, but they are assuming that this is a terrorist incident. Let me just give you a sense of where we are right here. Those are the Houses of Parliament inside the Palace of Westminster. That bridge right there is the Westminster Bridge. You can see traffic has been stopped. That entire area has been sealed off. Cars and buses do remain on the bridge. That's where we believe that the incident started, with the suspect in a car going up onto the sidewalk, mowing down and wounding several people on that sidewalk before continuing along and driving into Parliament Square, where he again rammed into the gates, rammed into people. As you mentioned, he got out and attacked a policeman with a knife. He was eventually shot and killed. Now, of course, this continent could hardly be at a higher state of alert. In fact, the alert level here in Britain is severe, meaning that an attack is highly likely. This is a very crude method of attack that we've seen elsewhere in Europe in the past 2 years since these terrorist attacks have started. Of course, last year in Nice, there was that the terrorist who attacked people along the quay, along the beach on Bastille Day, killing more than 80 people. And then just at Christmas, 12 people were killed when another terrorist rammed into a Christmas crowd, killing a dozen people. Again, the police here have not said that this is a terrorist incident, but terror officials here in the UK have warned that an attack here in London and beyond is not a question of if, but when. George?
Okay, Alex, it also comes on the anniversary of that attack on the Brussels airport and subway, which killed 35 people. That was March 22nd, 2016. Reports from inside the British Parliament also say that the British Prime Minister, Theresa May, was whisked away at the moment of the attack, put into a waiting car and taken away from the grounds of Parliament. As we said, this attack began on that bridge, that Westminster Bridge heading towards the Parliament. And a photographer, Radoslav Sikorsky, was an eyewitness and spoke to eyewitnesses there. We want to hear what he had to say.
Actually, going from Westminster Square to the South Bank, and I didn't see the car, but I heard what I thought was just a collision. And then I looked through the window of the taxi and I saw someone down, obviously in great distress. And then I saw a second person down. And I started filming, and then I saw 3 more people down, one of them bleeding profusely. So what I saw was an incident involving at least 5 people seriously injured.
We're looking at the video that you shot just moments ago. Can you describe what reaction there was, where the police were already there? What happened?
No. This was... I started filming seconds after the car passed, and people rushed forward to help the victims.
So you saw the aftermath of what looks like a car driving into several people.
Mowing down. I saw 5 people down.
And then what happened?
And then my taxi moved away, and the taxi driver informed the police. And then we started hearing sounds of ambulances.
It's on the bridge there, Radoslav Sikorsky, and that's the video. He saw at least 5 people mowed down by that vehicle. Of course, this has put our own Department of Homeland Security on high alert as well. Let's go to Pierre Thomas with the latest on that.
George, senior FBI officials and Homeland Security officials, as you say, are aware. They're tracking this incident closely. The early guidance they have is what you've been reporting: 2 separate crime scenes, one involving an officer being stabbed at the Parliament, another involving people being mowed down by a vehicle. Law enforcement sources telling us that an investigation is underway to see if they are tied. People here are considering this a terrorist incident, even though it has not been officially described as such. Law enforcement officials deeply concerned, given the close working relationship that we have with the British government.
And we are also being told now that police here in New York City are increasing security at several high-profile British targets here in New York City. Cecilia Vega, at the White House, the president already has been briefed by his national security advisor.
By H.R. McMaster, his national security advisor. George, we believe this briefing happened sometime around 11:30 this morning. The president is here at the White House in meetings mostly about health care today. We haven't heard much more. We have reached out to senior White House officials to find out exactly what the president knows and what the reaction from the White House is and will be. The president did make a brief comment about this in front of cameras today. They were in the room for these meetings on health care, and the president apologized for being late to women in the room, and that he said he was being briefed and was apologized that he was dealing with that situation there in London. But George, as you know, day 62 of this presidency, and this would be perhaps one of the first large-scale terror attacks, if that ends up being what this is, that President Trump would have to respond to here.
Okay, Cecilia Vega, and our chief global affairs anchor, Martha Raddatz, also with us by phone right now. And Martha, this of course comes on the heels about 24 hours after the United States and Great Britain both announced a ban on certain electronics coming from direct flights from majority Muslim.
Audio Jungle.